Start off, guys. Welcome to Brutal Board Gamers. This is going to be our first game that we're playing. I can see these guys are already smirking at me in the background, so this could be a bit interesting to get through. The other guys, they're outside, just trying to sort out this bit of this sunlight that we're getting in the conservatory here at our studio at Fordy's house. That's him trying to sort that out at the moment. So what we're going to do for our first game, we're going to play Great Western Trail, because we figured let's play a game where we all know it quite well, except for ST, who has never got a clue. Yeah. Right? That was him. Okay, so let's just go through it anyway. Right, so it's America in the 19th century. You're playing ranches and you're building up herds of cattle. You're going to move them across country and take them into market in Kansas City. It's one of those games where at the end of the game, the winner is the person with the most victory points. Pretty much standard. Okay, there is no score track on the board whatsoever. So at the end of the game, we're just going to tot up the scores on this natty little pad. Okay, so what we're doing is first, if you come over here, every rancher, now what you need the right people for the job. Okay, you've got to have staff. Okay, so we've got cowboys, and the cowboys mean you can build your herd. They enable you to buy more valuable cattle. More cowboys, more cattle, buying at a cheap price. So we have craftsmen, the little yellow guys here. Now they allow you to place your own buildings along the trail. They give you sort of all important way stations around the board. Okay, and those way stations, if they're in your colour, only you can use them to their full potential. Engineers here, they get your train moving along the track at the top of the board. This reduces your transport costs, meaning you can build stations along the train route. More engineers, the further your train's going to be able to move down the track with each activation. So let's look at the trail. Okay, in Great Western Trail, you're represented by one of these little cowboy meeples here. Okay, now you can only move forward along the trail, and each piece of card on the board, whether it be a building, one of these Native American teepees, or these little hazards that we see around the board, each of them counts as one space of movement. A blank space is nothing. Okay, so we've got different routes to follow, and 7 communal buildings are on the map at the start of the game. This is a standard layout which we're going to show today. Each of the places are marked and there is a building to go in that place. Okay, now some of the tokens show a green or black hand when you're moving across them, and these are taxes that you're going to have to pay every time you go across or land on that token. In a 4-player game, a black hand means you're going to pay 2 to move across that one, or you're going to a green hand will mean you're going to pay 1 to move across one of these. Okay, it depends on the player count. If it's a hazard or TP, you pay the bank. If it's another person's building, then you pay that person. Okay, so each building's got one or more actions you take when you finish your move on it. If it's a neutral building or your own, you can take all the actions on that building. Okay, if it's someone else's building, a TP or a hazard, then you can take a single ancillary action, but I'll come to those in a bit. So looking at the tiles, if we look at this one first, you'll find places. You're going to find places to hire employees. You can find your own way stations and your important cattle market. But let's have a look at this one. This one is there. That enables you to take a TP, a green or a purple one, off the board. You can pay 2 coins, move your train forward a couple of spaces, and take a double ancillary action. We'll move to them. I'm not going to go through absolutely everything because I think we're not aiming to be a rules oriented run through here. We're just trying to get a bit of a feel of how the game plays. So all sorts of things you can do with these. Okay, each player's got their own board. You get there. They show how many cows. There's your hand limit, how many cows you can have in your hand, which is your herd at the time. Okay, and how many certificates you've got. Okay, these are extra value when you come to sell Kansas City. Okay, it's got a variety of ancillary actions. Those things I'll come later on when I actually get to explain the player board a bit more. First thing we're going to do, and that's Mark to move the Steadicam over here to the train track. Okay, at the top of the board is this train track. Each player's got a train along this line and multiple cities which you can deliver your herd to. Kansas and San Francisco to be delivered to multiple times. All the other ones you can only deliver to once. Okay, the cows. Your cows exist in a personal deck of cards, and each player begins with the same 14 cows. Okay, 4 different breeds. Your starting cows have a value of $1 or $2. Okay, they don't score any victory points with the game, but in the cattle market here, we've got a good sort of cross section of cows here. They're worth $3 to $5 when you come to sell them in market, and as well here, they're worth a certain amount of victory points, which you can see on the shield. You buy these cows, you build your deck, you use actions to cycle through your deck. You're trashing low value cards out of your hand and build that best possible hand of cows to sell when you get to Kansas City to the market. So let's look at the market. At the end of the trail, you're going to get to Kansas, you're going to go through a series of actions. In action 1, you're going to place one of 2 tiles in that column onto the board. In action 2, you're going to be doing exactly the same thing, but putting one of these 2 tiles into the upcoming job market here. In action 3, these do have a mixture of hazards and a mixture of people to go into the job market. Okay, that's exactly the same. In action 4, what you're doing here is you're selling your hand of cattle for a certain amount of money, and that is the number in the corners of the cow there. So as you can see there, Jersey cow, it's worth 1 each time. Okay. The other thing you've got to remember is you're not allowed to sell 2 cows of the same type. So, for example, I've got this hand. That hand is worth 7 coins to me, $7. Okay, I can increase that by spending on my little player board here these temporary certificates. I want to get it up to 8. I spend 1 certificate. I'm now making $8 at auction. Okay. So you get that, you increase it, and then the amount you've sold, shows you here, these small numbers here, 1, 4, 6, 8, 10, so on. That shows you how far you're going to be able to sell your cattle. For another example here, if I have this hand, then what I'm doing there is I'm actually only making 5 for that hand, because this is a duplicate. So really, let's forget that one, and only those are the cows that I'm selling. Okay, again, I can make it up to more with an amount of certificates. Again, these are temporary certificates, you're just dropping them down. Okay, the good thing is that cities further from Kansas, they allow you to open up some more powerful abilities. So what you're really looking at here is, going back to the player board, you're going to be taking a disc off your player board. If I sell for 8, I can make it to Santa Fe. So making it to Santa Fe, I can take a disc, it's got a white border there. I can take a disc off my board with a white border. Okay, so we come to my board, I'll take, for example, this one. I take that disc and I place it in Santa Fe. Now, the next thing I've got to do is I've got to pay my transport costs, depending on when my train is at the station, at what point on the track it is. So here, between where I am and Santa Fe, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 little red crosses. Those little red crosses, each one of them equals a coin. So I'm selling for 8, but I've got to pay 4 in transport costs. So eventually I'm getting $4 at the end of that. Okay, so as you'll see further up the track, we've got these hashed ones. Okay, and some of these stations here, I'll come to those shortly. Now, with these hash ones, they enable you to take a white or a black one off the track, and the black ones are the more powerful abilities. You're increasing your hand size, you're increasing the amount you can move on the board at any one time, or you're getting up to your maximum amount of certificates, maximum of 6 there. Those are the big ones, the kind of the big ones you want to go for. We've also got stations on the opposite side of the routes. Now, you can, when you move your train into a siding, what you'll do is you can take, again, a white disc off your board, in it goes into there, okay, and you are now manning that station. The first person in there can choose to take this bonus tile, and this is just in the first 5 stations. Again, what that means though, because you're taking the bonus tile, you have to man the station. So you need to take an employee off your own track, take him there, and move him straight into the station permanently. That becomes manned. But you've now got this. So that is 1 infinite certificate, so where the ones on your character sheet are temporary. This one gives you an immediate bonus at the top, which is you can use that for the rest of the game. It also gives you one at the end of the game for scoring points. So that is for every 2 hazards that you've cleared from the board at the end of the game, you're getting 3 points. Okay, so that's dead forward and that's stations. Okay. Also, one of the last things I want to talk to you about this is the game timer. Now, the game timer is here in the job market. Every time you go into Kansas City, you're taking more people and you're putting them into the job market, and the job market fills up here, from here, and it keeps going across. You see the different player counts at the top here, and this thing will eventually get pushed down. Now, when it gets pushed down by this little symbol here, This little symbol hit me here means you're filling up the cattle market again. And with a 4-player game, the cattle market is a total of 13 cows, which we've already dealt out in setup at the start of this game. You'll see that right there. Okay, cattle market gets refilled up to 13 cows. Eventually, you'll get to the bottom of the job market, and the player who pushes that off at the end of the game will claim that, get 2 points right at the start of the game, right at the end of the game, and everyone else will get one more turn, and then that's game over. Final scores are then tallied after that. Okay, I'm now going to just have a quick look and see where I am. I'm going to look at the player board. Player board's got these little ancillary actions, and these are quite important to sort of get you going. So these ancillary actions here, we're going to take a coin. There, this is important. You've got to remember you draw a card before you discard a card. So I take a single ancillary action, I draw in a card, so I've got 5 in my hand, say. My current hand limit at the start of the game is 4, and I discard one. Just trying to improve that herd of cattle as I go through. This one, you pay a coin and move your train back, and your certificates go up by 1. The fourth one, pay a coin, move your train forward 1 space on the track. And the last one, move your train back 1 space, and then with the X there, you're trashing a card out of your hand. Okay, and that card goes out of the game. It's a great way for just getting rid of those rubbishy little cows that you don't need anymore. Okay. There's also actions on the employee spaces when you cover them up. So you take an employee, you must fill them from left to right. Here you'll see I've taken an engineer. I fill that engineer up into this space. I can discard a 1-point value, a Jersey cow from my hand, and immediately get 1 certificate as I cover that up. You can, if you remove him, say into a station or something, you cover it up again, you're taking the action again. They'll go. We've got a hiring action, enabling you to build a bit cheaper, taking a hazard off the board, taking a Native American TP off the board, okay, and so on and so forth. They're dead straightforward. The game movement in itself, if we go back to the board, is essentially, it's kind of a modified rondelle. You're moving in one direction along a path, you're taking actions as you go, and then returning at the start, and you're doing it all over again. Modified in that there are choices in which routes you get to take. If we look here right under the camera, where Mark's pointing, we can go this way through the hazards. These things here are just a couple of extra movements, extra actions that you can take if there's a building on those spaces. Or we can go this way and get there for 1. So here, that is just 1 movement, moving there. If I was to move the other way, it's going to take me 1, 2, 3. Also remembering, I've got the 2 hands there. That's going to cost me 1 for the green hand, 2 for the black hand. It's going to cost me 3 coins to the bank if I wanted to go this way. Dead straightforward. Okay. That is essentially it. The game itself it's a deck builder. That's all it is. You're building up a deck to try and get the best hand of cattle all the way through it. Okay. The 3 most important parts of the game, I think, which the most important actions I want to talk about are the employment. So, hiring from the job market. Now this is this tile. If we look at that tile, it's got 3 actions on it. Always remember with the 3 actions is you can take these actions in any order you want. So the first action here we're looking at, we'll just call it the first action for the sake of it. If you've got a white card in your hand, a white cow, you can discard it and immediately gain 2 coins. The second one enables you to hire from the job market at base cost. Okay? Now, if we go over to the job market, you'll see each row has a cost down the side. You can only hire from complete rows. So to hire someone from this row, it's going to cost you $6. Once that one goes down, that's for us full 6 and 7 and so on. Okay, dead straightforward. We'll also see a third action on here. If I just get that out of the a little bit of glare, that means you can hire a second employee, but it's going to cost you $2 more than the base cost. So anyone out of that first row is going to cost you $8 to do a second hire. Okay, so we've gone to the cattle market. The cattle market is massively important in this game. Okay, because cattle really is kind of the base mechanic for the entire game. Everything is about cattle, oddly enough, it being the Great Western Trail. So we move over here to tile E. You can see that you can discard a black card. I'll just hold that up to the camera so we've got a little bit of thing. Let's just get that. You can discard a black card and you get 2 coins, and then you can visit the cattle market. Now here, at the bottom of the board here, is the cattle market. If we just look at these, obviously, as I said before, we've got the cows at 3, 4 and 5 value, different amounts of victory points. Here, each of these is a cowboy. So if you've got one cowboy, you'll notice on the player board you had pre-printed cowboys, engineers and craftsmen. So you've always got one of each no matter what you do. So for here, you've got one cowboy, you can buy any one level 3 cow and it's going to cost you $6. If you've got 2 cowboys, you can buy a level 3 cow for $3. You've got 3 cowboys, you can get 2 level 3 cows, and that's any of these for $5. Okay, and so on and so forth until you get in 5 cowboys could get you 2 level 4s for $8 and so on. And you can, if you've got 6 cowboys, you could buy a level 4 for $6 and 2 level 3s for $5. So you spend $11, you're buying 3 cows at the cattle market. And you're taking these from here straight into your discard pile, job done. Okay, that's what they're going to get sorted. Buildings. Okay, the personal buildings in the game, if we start with, we'll just look at the straightforward basic one here. This is the first building available to buy. Each of these buildings is double-sided, just gives a slight variation on sort of tactics for the game. We're going to do side A today with all those, just the sort of basic game run through. Okay, in the top left, it's going to tell you how many craftsmen you need to build that building. Okay, and if we go back to the second tile here, again, first action, discard a green card, get paid $2. Then you can build and you place it on the board. For every craftsman you require, it's going to cost you $2. Okay, so a 5 craftsman building, this one, that's going to cost you $10 to build if you've got the 5 craftsmen available to build it. Okay, and once that you can take the building. So I've built this one, and I can put it wherever I want on the trail. Okay, and you'll see that one's got a hand on it. So anytime anyone goes over there, they're going to be giving me $1 actually for a green to go past that building. So I get a little bit of tax out of it. Okay, what we'll do, I mean, we'll probably talk about individual buildings, what they do as we come to them at some point throughout the game. Finally, objectives. Now each player begins the game with one of the 4 starting contracts. You'll see mine here. Okay, these were dealt out in setup. I need to place 2 buildings on the board and remove a hazard. And once I've done that, at the end of the game, if I complete that contract, I'm going to be getting 3 points. There are further contracts available throughout the game. We'll have a look at this one. When you take a contract, due to some of the actions on the board, it will go into your discard pile. You can draw it up into your hand. The only way to get it out of your hand is to play it, okay? Or go to market and discard your entire hand and then start again, okay? But if you play it, you're going to immediately take the action in the top left-hand corner. So this one, immediately move your train forward 2 spaces on the track. You need 2 buildings and 2 green TPs taken off the board over here. That'll get you 5 points at the end of the game if you completed it. What you must know is that these are, I suppose the word is binary, is that right? Yeah. Where basically, if I need to complete both of these, I'm going to need 4 buildings, okay? I can't use the same 2 buildings to complete that I used to complete that. Very simple and straightforward. As I said before, we're going to play the basic game today. All the neutral buildings are in their assigned locations on the board, and we're using side A of the basic buildings. The more rules in this is to give you a flavour of the game. We'll be moving on to our full playthrough of Great Western Trail shortly. If you've got any more questions, make comments on the video. I'll do my best to answer them all the way through, especially if I've made a mistake, because give me as much stick as possible. Really don't mind. Probably deserve it. We are horrible to each other throughout most of these games, so, you know, don't worry, we can take it. Today, you'll see the guys coming through. Jay will be playing as yellow. It's a bit of a mess there at the moment because we keep dragging the lead through it. I am, as always, blue. Mark is, as often as we can, playing red, and Fordy gets, you know, whatever he gets given. Okay, so today Fordy's playing white. I think that's where we're at, really. So yeah, I say if you need to give us any feedback, or you know you want to request us doing a game or anything, you can find us on Twitter. Our Twitter account is @TheBrutal4. all one word, and we can be contacted at brutalboardgamers at gmail.com.